Good morning, Hardy 4th grade. Miss Grillo here. I'm so glad you were able to join us for another episode of Math with Miss Grillo. Oh, I miss you guys so much. I hope you are doing well. But for right now, get out a piece of paper and we are going to do something exciting today. In our video on Wednesday, we looked at comparing fractions with uncommon denominators. So today we are taking what we learned there and moving one step further. We are going to be adding and subtracting fractions, but what do we notice about these fractions? Very good. They have uncommon denominators. So grab out that sheet of paper and we are going to get started working on some of these problems today. So let us look at question number 1. We have 3/4 plus 2/3. So can we go ahead and add these just like they are? Can I go 4 plus 3? 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and 3 plus 2 gives us 3, 4, 5. So can I go ahead and do 5 sevenths? Is that going to be our answer? No, it's not. Because we cannot physically add these together. Take a moment of private think time. Why can we not add these numbers together? Very good. It's because they have uncommon denominators. So the first step whenever we are adding or subtracting with uncommon denominators is to make these denominators, or the bottom number, the same, okay? So we talked about 2 different strategies on Wednesday for taking numbers and making them the same. The first one was the multiplying by the other denominator, and the second one was finding the least common multiple. So on this first problem, I'm going to once again walk you through how we can multiply by the opposite denominator to get equal denominators. So make sure you write this down. Question number 1, 3/4 plus 2/3. And now we know that we need to multiply by the opposite denominator. All right. So I'm going to take 3/4 and start with that number. So I have 3/4. And I am multiplying by the opposite denominator, which means I'm multiplying by 3. And we know whatever we're doing to this bottom number, we have to do to the top. So I'm going to be multiplying by not just 3, but 3/3. All right, and then we can go ahead and solve this multiplication problem. So 4 times 3 gives us 12. And 3 times 3 gives us 9. All right, so 3/4 is going to be the same thing as 9/12. I'm going to write that right down here. And then we got to figure out what we're going to be adding by, okay? So 3/4 times 3/3 equals 9/12. Next, we're going to take 2/3 and do the same thing. But this time, instead of multiplying by 3/3, what is it that I'm going to be multiplying by? 4/4. Very good, because we are multiplying by the opposite denominator. So 2/3 times 4/4. We got to figure out what that equals. So 3 times 4 gives us 12. Same thing over here. And then 2 times 4 gives us 8. Very good. All right, so we have 9/12 and we have 8/12. Can we go ahead and add these two together now? Yeah, we can. Why? Because they have the same denominator. All right, so we went through the hard part. Now this part's pretty easy. Whenever we're adding, the denominator stays the same. So we're not going to do 12 plus 12. Instead, we're just going to carry that 12 over. And that's going to stay our denominator. Next, we are going to do 9 plus 8. This time we are adding together. So what's 9 plus 8? Think for a second. If you need to count, that's fine. We start with 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 9 plus 8 equals 17. And so 3/4 plus 2/3, what's going to be our answer? 17/12. All right, so we can go ahead and put that here. What do we notice about this fraction, though? What kind of fraction is it? It's improper, right? Which means that the numerator, or the top number, is bigger than our whole, or the bottom number. Meaning we're going to have more than one whole. So you are more than welcome to go ahead and challenge yourself. See if you can figure out 17/12. What is that going to be as a mixed number? Remember, whenever we're trying to solve mixed numbers, we ask ourselves, how many times does the denominator go into the numerator? That's going to be your whole number. And then the number left is going to be your numerator. Challenge yourself. Try this out. Put it on your paper and send it in with your packets. Okay, guys? I would love to see how you are getting this. All right. If you want to pause the video here and try that out, go for it. If not, we are going to keep going. We're going to go to problem number 2. So on your piece of paper, please go ahead and write down this problem. 7/8 minus 7/16. What does that equal? All right. So if you need a little bit more time to copy down the problem, go ahead and pause the video. If not, we are going to start on this. This time, instead of multiplying by the opposite denominator, we are going to use our second method, or finding the least common multiple. All right. So I'm going to write LCM, standing for least common multiple. So we have our least common multiple, which means we're going to be looking for the smallest number that both 8 and 16 can go into. All right, so when I do this, I like to list out what my multiples are. It's just easier for me to keep track. But if you are really good with your multiplication facts and can do it in your head, that's okay too. But I am going to give you the option to look at this right here. So the question I'm going to be asking myself is 8 times 1, 8 times 2, what do all of those equal? So let's start with our 8s. And we said 8 times 1. So what is 8 times 1? 8. Very good. So I'm going to list that right down here. All right. Next, I'm going to do 8 times 2. Well, 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to list it right next door. Next, we're going to move on to 8 times 3. 24. All right. And last but not least, 8 times 4. Gonna be 32. All right, and we're gonna stop there. We have a couple of big numbers. And then we are going to move on to 16. And we're gonna look for our least common multiple for 16. So we're going to do the same strategy. We're going to do, first off, 16 times 1. What does 16 times 1 equal? 16, very good. All right, what about 16 times 2? This one's a little challenging. I already know it. If you want to go ahead and pause the video here, challenge yourself. Try to figure out 16 times 2. Write it down on your piece of paper and see if you can figure it out. I would love to see the work that you've shown to figure out 16 times 2. With that, though, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So 16 times 2 is going to be 32. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So I'm going to be looking at my list of numbers. I have 8, 16, 24, 32, and I have 16 and 32 over here. Well, what I notice is that there are 4 numbers on here that are the same on this side and this side. We have 16 is the same here and here. And then 32 is the same here and here. So, which one am I going to use? Have any answers? Well, if you said 16, you are right. We're going to use 16 because it is our least common multiple, or the smallest of the two that both 8 and 16 have in common. Okay? So, if we're using 16, what does that tell us about this fraction? Very good. It can stay the same, right? Because it already has a denominator of 16. So I'm going to do 7/16. But unfortunately, that means this fraction needs to change. So we have to ask ourselves, 8 times what is going to give us 16? Well, in our chart, it is 8 times 2. It's our second number, right? So I'm going to have to do 7/8 times what? 2. But it can't just be 2, because whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. And that gives us what? Well, let's do the math. 8 times 2 is 16. And then 7 times 2 is 14. Very good. So 7/8 is the same thing as 14/16. And we are going to go ahead and subtract 14/16 and 7/16. So just like with addition, when we are subtracting, we leave the denominators the same. So we have 2/16. You can also follow along down here. 2/16. So it's going to stay the same. I'm going to keep it at 16. So the top number is really where we're going to be doing our math. We have 14, and we are taking 7 away, okay? So, go ahead and count, or if you already know it off the top of your head, go ahead and do it. I know that 14 minus 7 gives us 7, all right? Or 7 plus 7 gives us 14. All right, so that means 7/8 minus 7/16 gives us 7/16. So when we are adding and subtracting fractions, it is super important that they have a common denominator, or that their bottom number is the same. Okay, we cannot add or subtract without a common denominator. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this video today. There are going to be a couple of challenge problems at the end, so please make sure you do it on the same sheet of notebook paper and turn it in with your packets, okay? I want to see the work that you are doing based off of these YouTube videos. All right, If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave a little note for me at the bottom of this video, and I will do my best to either answer your question there or make another video to support you. And as always, feel free to reach out to all of us. We are here to help. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day.